everybody, welcome back to the Flames Pyro Art Study Group. Today I thought we would have a look at the fish, or the start of the fish. So we've got a fish which is predominantly white, sat in the bear's mouth, but we want to try and add some shape to the fish. So let's have a little look and think about how we can add some shape to the fish. I'm using the extra small space shader at the minute. We'll see how this goes on this fish. So looking at it, obviously we've got its back fin there, and then if you think about a fish, where the back fin is positioned, all this body obviously bellies out, doesn't it? You know, it's not flat, it's rising up. So we need to try and create some shape. But with the fish being predominantly white, there is a little bit of darker scale here at this point that we can use to our advantage. So what we want to do is pull our strokes in a diagonal or an angled stroke, like moving outwards, you know, so the fin is obviously on the middle of the back. So we will want to push that back a little bit. Then just moving in a direction, I've got like a little graphite line which tells me where the scales finish. We can start to create some shape to the fish. So we're just looking to give it some more realism and depth to the fish. And you don't want to go at this with a very high heat. You just want to gently let the heat absorb into the wood and slowly start to push the fin area back and create this sort of bowling out shape. When we're creating realism, we always have to try and think in our mind's eye, how would that object appear if it was actually in front of us? You know, how would the shading, how would the light be reflected to create that three-dimensional object in front of us? Got the dawn chorus of the birds at the moment, the first light here in the UK. We'll be able to keep this picture fairly static for you, won't need to move around a lot with a board on this fish. But all my strokes are going out in an angled shape to try and create some bowling. So at the furthest point of the fish will be its darkest area, and as it pulls round with its three-dimensional body, it goes lighter and lighter. And this, with using the burn low and slow method of pyrography, is ideal for this sort of project. Because you certainly wouldn't want to be tackling this on a high heat. Otherwise you would just make a really dark fish and you would lose the fish's look. And these fins yet need to be darkened off and given some shape. So they're by no means finished either yet. Now you don't have to do this. This is just if you really want to go to extreme levels and try and create the maximum detail you can. I'm a bit fanatical when it comes to trying to add as much detail as possible. And experiment with new techniques, new shadings, and see what you come up with. But as I've journeyed further into pyrography art, you begin to see the shades and tones that you need to put down. You become somewhat, I wouldn't say an expert, but you certainly begin to start seeing the right amount of shading and different colours of everything to create a shape. And creating three-dimensional shapes takes work with pyrography. I've never woodburned a fish before, so it's a first for me. But we'll try and create as good a looking fish as I possibly can. I mean, the bear is nowhere near finished yet. There's a lot more work to do as I like to really try and get into the detail. This area at the moment is just a horrible mess, but hopefully it's in its ugly stage and it's gonna come out of that stage, because what I can't really seem to get my head around is this is obviously the bear's front paw, so we've got his front shoulder, but then behind we've got the bear's back leg, so that has to be put in deeper back, even deeper than the fish. It has to be really pushed back. Let's just keep gradually pulling our strokes in this direction. And what we will do is we will burn up higher than the fin level, because the fin level, the base of the fin, we can't see because it's further round the body. So we're only getting a glimpse of, say, 3/4 of the tail of that back fin. I'm doing this under lamp light, which isn't the greatest light to be working under, to be honest. It's much better in the daylight. But you see, as we gradually keep adding layers, we can hopefully like push some of it back and bring it round into the light. Now if you really zoomed in on the fish, you would see the scales, but I don't think we need to go to that level of detail. I think that'd be a bit OTT. But when you look at things, try and look at it and see what shape, you know, it should be. Try and get a feel for the contours and the shape of the fish. We're just about get into our graphite line now. So here at the back, I'm gonna darken off a little bit more. Got my heat setting at just over 2 on the Optima, which for this pen is a low medium. Because pyrography art is a lot like tattoo art, in that we're not just burning on the surface layer of the wood, we're actually burning deeper into the wood. Look beyond the flat surface. We don't see the flat surface, we see things 3-dimensionally. And this fish had 2 little marks here on its back. I don't know what they were telling us, but there was 2 marks there. Hopefully you can still see me. We will need to add certain amounts of shading to the fish to make it not appear flat. But we certainly won't be wood burning the whole fish. And see how I'll just keep working away until I start creating that depth, and then start easing my way out of the depth. So you go from dark and you blend your shading until it goes dark, lighter, 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 and stops. I feel like this is one of those projects you could spend a month on easily if you want to go into, you know, really fine detail. So there's still a little area up there that I need to get at. And when you use the tip of your pen, that is the hottest, one of the hottest points of the pen. The tip and the edges, you will find, kick out the most heat. We very rarely use a pen flat. We always have it on an angle. Okay, the fish is a bit far away for me to see, so let me bring it in closer to my eye. Okay, then there's some more scales here on the fish. they go off on a diagonal to meet up with the other shading that we've done. My eyes weren't what they used to be, so I need things closer to my eye now to see the detail. I can see now, I've brought the image closer, that there is more shading around the fish, where near the jaws of the bear. Notice we've got this fin here, which again needs to be shaded. And so as we carry on with the fish, we need to create like more of the depth of the body of the fish which had started. Now if you think about the fish as it is, obviously it's not flat, so there's going to be a far side to the bottom of the fish, which is over here, which, you know, curls off to the other side of the fish. And then there is also, when the body comes down, there is the underneath of the fish. I'll just get my pen set to the right heat. We don't want to go at this too heavily with our shading, but we want to show that there is more depth to our fish. As I said, we don't want a flat fish. It's a salmon. So there's still bits of graphite there, so we can remove any of the graphite that's left around there. We don't want it anymore. There's a hair on my pen. So let's take the shading of this scaly part of the fish round a bit more. As we think this is the main like side of the fish. This is its underbelly. So from the underbelly, we still need to like show that the fish is, you know, ridging out, you know, it's got shape to it. So the top part angles out this way and this part angles back that way. And as you keep working at the fish, you don't want, like I said, don't go too heavily. treat it a bit like skin tone. All we're looking to do is capture shape. Remember earlier I said that this area where the fin is, you can't quite see the bottom of the fin. So we can shade off and block the bottom of the fin off because it's a bit further round the fish. Then as we work our way down, keep adding that bit of shading. And down at the bottom here, there's a few odd patches. I don't know where, I think it's near where its bum is. I think that's its bum. Then the bottom fin. We need to add a bit more depth here on this area. I mean, every now and again in places you can add, like, you know, bits of the dots of marks on the fish. But with the shading going off round to the far side, you have to get right up to the edge. Don't leave a gap. Then I would expand from, not to turn this sideways, I would expand from this side. Again with this fin here, you can't see it all, so let me just spin it round. Just shading. More body. Move the board round as it's easier to get at everything, you know, instead of struggling trying to get your hands in a certain position and burn on a certain angle, just move your board. And sometimes when you move your board around, you see things in a different perspective. I like to sometimes work upside down, sideways, and just see where it takes me. Now I want to show that so there is obviously a side to the fish. So we can just add some bits of shading coming off from the body. And think about the shape of it still. It's still, you know, like a rainbow sort of shape. So that's what we're trying to capture. Switched over to the large round shader for this exercise now. As it's ideal for this sort of shading. I want to pull those scales round a little further. Getting right up to the edge. Again, remember the clean edge to value. Everything has to have a clean edge. And that is the first stages of creating your three-dimensional fish. Underneath here, you know, you've got that, the gills area. So there would be a darker spot that goes off here. And it does follow round if you think about it on the fish. It follow off to the edge there. And this is now around the mouth area. So its mouth is open. So you need to shade inside the mouth. The darkest area is obviously going to be up the top. And so if you know where there's less light coming out from. The eye is just there, just in the mouth. So we don't see much of the eye. So we don't have to worry about it. But we want to pronounce this lip A little more. I need to turn the heat down a little touch now, because I don't want to be shading too darkly at this. Let's just get it down to a lighter tone. Gonna have to darken up that mouth a little more. You know, inside the mouth. Then we shade off the top lip round as it goes out of our view. Sorry, the bottom lip goes out of view, so it just shades off there. Now our top lip, we want it to be clean. We want all the edges around the fish to be really tight and clean. And then just keep working away with your bits of shading until you feel like you've got a three-dimensional fish. This area here is actually the bottom of the mouth of the bear. That's grabbed hold of the fish in its mouth. I'm not going to go into the shading of the fins. This is more just to do with capturing a more three-dimensional shape of the body. So just take your time on a nice low heat. Remember, there is no rush whatsoever, and just see if you can let the fish gradually start showing itself to you. Just keep adding light touches of shading until you build some definition and shape. Because yeah, a fish may be white, but if you just left it white, it wouldn't have any detail or shape or anything to it. You know, it wouldn't tell any story to the person who was looking at the piece. You know, you want the fish to tell a story of how it's laying, you know, what shape the fish is as it's been snatched out of the water. That's if you go into ridiculous amounts of detail, you could really add all the scales and everything, but I don't really feel it's necessary. If you want to go at that level, you absolutely can do. And suppose we can add a little bit of shading to where it's been gripped by the bear's mouth. And that is the start of creating your three-dimensional fish. So you just work away at it and see if you can build some shape and depth and definition to it. So that should give you a good start as to what to do. Think about your shape. Think about how the light would cast, so you're pushing that ridge back and then it's coming round. Then the fish has got its main thickness, its width. So that's there shown as the underbelly. And then you need to just show a bit of like the shape coming up and round as well. And then obviously lower down on the fish, you want to add some shading for the depth down near the tail. And that is how you get started with your three-dimensional fish. So I hope that's given you a little bit of insight into the bear and the fish in its mouth. There's a little bit more work to be done on my shading of the fish, but that's a good start for you all. So if you and see where you get to, see what shape you can make of your fish. This has been a really epic journey and it's not quite finished yet, but we're getting close to the end. So just keep going a little further, we'll get this fish shaded, finish the bear's paw off and his head, and then we'll start looking at the water of the fish. Okay, so happy pyroing everybody, good luck with your fish. If you need any help at all, shout me up, leave a comment, leave a like on the video to let me know that you're watching and that you want me to carry on creating content for you. And I'm more than happy to do so, and we can carry on with these wood burning adventures and journeys together and look into creating more and more realism with our art, just on this onward journey, you know, as we delve into different animals and subject matters. We learn more and more all the time about three-dimensional art. Okay, so take care everybody, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now. Much love.
To work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me, and what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan your own hands can land.